four, but we do have four. Is Keene coming?
No, we didn't ask her.
Okay. That's all right.
So here's one that's, they're looking for waivers for requirement to.
The hour of 6:30 p.m. having arrived, I will call to order this regular meeting of the Planning Board. This meeting is being broadcast live on channel 1302. Anyone wishing to view a copy of the agenda and supporting materials will find it on the city website. To receive electronic copies of future agenda packets, please go to the home page and subscribe to the city meetings email list. Will the staff please call the roll call?
Pamela Russell Slack,
Present?
David Orgaz,
Present.
Mayor George Hansel,
Here.
Councilor Mike Remy,
Here.
Harold Farrington,
Here.
Roberta Mastrogiovanni, Armando Rangel,
Here.
Emily Levine Bernier, here, Gail Summers, Tammy Adams, Kenneth Cost.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from April 25th, 2022?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Mayor George Hansel. I'd move to approve the minutes as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. The first item on the agenda is SPR-01-18, modification number 1, site plan -809 Court Street. Owner and applicant Hillsborough Capital LLC is requesting a 1-year extension of the time frame for achieving active and substantial development of the site plan for 809 Court Street for the demolition of the existing 19,943 square foot building and the construction of a 28,800 square foot indoor athletic facility in its place. This is the third extension request for this site plan. The applicant is also requesting to continue to occupy the existing building as an athletic facility until the new building is constructed. The parcel is tax map number 219-005-000-000-000 and is located in the Commerce District. So I invite Mr. Steve Holland to present to the board, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. This has been a long journey for us. We started the business in Marlborough back in January of 2015. We first came before the planning board and got original approval in April of 2018, and then proceeded in detailed planning, and that detailed planning brought us back and forth in front of the board December of 2018 with our first modification. And just to summarize, what we did was we had a pretty extensive plan, and then as we got into the detailed planning of that, realized that it was going to take longer and cost more than we originally anticipated. So we came back and sought approval for a phased implementation, which brought us to moving into the building and actually our grand opening of November of 2019. And clearly, with what's happened around the world the last 2 years, our timing could not have been any worse. Of course, as you know, with the policies in the city of Keene, we were shut down for 3 months during the middle of 2020, from March until the first part of June, and we'd come before the planning board last year asking for an extension, and we are coming before you again this evening for one more extension. Obviously, this has been a very challenging time for all of us. The market conditions, both with staffing, with inflation and so forth, with materials, and coming up with a plan that we can support and operate our facility the way that we envisioned was going to be virtually impossible during the last couple of years. And so we are asking for another approval so we can continue to work on solidifying those plans.
Thank you. Do any board members have any questions of Mr. Holland? Mr. Farrington?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Of all the things you mentioned, what's kind of the biggest stumbling block at this point?
I think it's really a combination of things. You know, when we reopened, in the middle of 20, we had to start with reduced capacity, and the cost to operate the facility the way it was challenging to say the least. We've the plan back when we got approval with the first modification was really to establish a track record and really prove the business model out so that we could justify the larger expense and solidify some funding for that. So that was really first and foremost the time it has taken to scale the business, and then as we have dug in with various contractors, the ability to phase the building, phase the implementation the way that we wanted to has continued to be pretty challenging. It was a big bang approach from the very beginning, and we chose a phased approach so we could get in there and start seeing some progress, and coming up with a plan that's phased is still what really has been setting us back.
So you think 1 year will resolve that?
Honestly, I don't know. As I alluded to in the request, we're looking at various alternatives. So we very well may, in the next month or two, come back with a modification, to our existing plan, that maybe is a little bit smaller in scale, so that we can achieve those timelines.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Do any other board members have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I invite staff. Mary, were you going over the criteria?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mary Brenner, Senior Planner. So this is the third and the final extension request for this site plan application. In your regulations, you allow for up to a maximum of 3 extensions. So I'm just going to review really briefly what your standards say for a third extension. Your regulations state that prior to the expiration of the second extension period, an applicant may request a third extension. Such extension shall only be granted by the respective decision-making authority where an applicant can demonstrate that there are extraordinary circumstances that warrant a third extension of the deadline. So I think the key phrase there is extraordinary circumstances. If you agree with the applicant that some of the items that he mentioned, including the pandemic and some of the resulting issues with supply chain and things like that, warrant extraordinary circumstances, that's something for you to consider. The applicant is also asking to continue their operation for the time being. As part of their phased approach to this site plan, they got approval to use the existing building and operate their athletic facility out of the existing building while working towards the ultimate goal of building a new facility on that site. I believe the applicant has already gone over their reasons for requesting the extension. I will mention that we have spoken with the applicant a few times about options, and the applicant, I don't think that anything is definitive at this point, but they are aware that they have the option to come back to city staff with a modification to their site plan if they wish to modify it. Instead of building the new building, they have other options. For example, they could request a modification to continue to use the existing building indefinitely. So that's, I believe, one of the options that they're considering, and this extension would give them time to figure out exactly what they could do moving forward. However, this extension, if you do decide to grant it, would be for 1 year, and then that's it. So it's kind of the last opportunity for this particular site plan.
Mary, perhaps you could explain to some of the newer board members here what happens if at the end of a year.
Right. So if you were to grant the third extension, and which would push it out for 1 year to don't know the date off the top of my head, but I think it's June 17th or something like that of 2023. And if that were to expire without active and substantial development having occurred, so active and substantial development means that they've actually started building something, so like a new foundation is in place, or they've started demolishing the existing building, something like that. then they would lose their site plan approval, and it would kind of revert back to whatever the site plan was before that, which in this case was, I believe, for an office building. But before that happens, I think there's a few different options that they could pursue. As I mentioned, one of them could be to submit a modification to their existing site plan.
Thank you, Mary. Do board members have any questions for staff? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mary. So does the board have any other questions? Okay, not seeing any. Is there a motion on the request?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just make a comment that it's unfortunate, the timing of it was unfortunate, and you kind of burned 2 years there, and I certainly wish you the best of luck getting your project going in the next year, because I think it's a great business, good model, very needed in the community, so anything we can do to help.
Well, I'm going to echo exactly what you said. It's been a rough couple of years for many, many businesses, and I do wish you luck moving forward.
And so with that, Madam Chair, I would move to extend the deadline for achieving active and substantial development of the site plan SBR-01-2018 for 809 Court Street, tax map parcel number 219-005-000 for the demolition of the existing 19,943 square foot building and the construction of a 28,800 square foot building indoor athletic facility to June 17th, 2023, and to permit the applicant to continue to occupy their existing building as an athletic facility until the new building is constructed.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Holland.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is S-04-22, Conservation Residential Development Subdivision, and SPR-04-22-Site Plan-0 Drummer Road. What I want to say tonight is the planning board will not be opening the public hearing on this item tonight because the application for this project is incomplete and it will need to be renoticed. Therefore, we will not be accepting any public comments on this application at this time. If you are in a butter, you will receive notice in the mail with the date and time of the public hearing, and the public hearing has been reset for Monday, June 27th at 6:30. The date and time of the public hearing will also be posted in the Keene Sentinel in the legal ad section of the paper, and it'll also be on the City of Keene website. So I'm hoping, I think there are a few people here for that hearing, which will not happen tonight because the application is not completed. So at this time, Mary, do you have any staff updates?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to answer any questions if board members have any questions about the public hearing that has to be renoticed. I'm happy to provide an explanation if you'd like one. But other than that, my only update is that we are continuing to work on the rules of procedure. They're currently under review by the City Attorney's Office, so we'll actually be bringing those to you next month, depending on how busy the agenda is. But we'll include it in your packet for next month so that you can start reviewing them. And then if we have a really busy agenda next month, we can, I don't think it's an urgent item, so we can always push that off to another month if you'd like. That's really my only update at this time.
Okay. And before I move on to the next item, do any of the board members have any questions about why the public hearing was postponed? I just want to make sure. Well, I'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any other questions about that? Okay. So, are there any items of new business that the board members would like to see added to any future agenda? Great. So the upcoming dates of interest, there will be, June is going to be a busy month. So there is a joint committee of the Planning Board and PLD on June 13th at 6:30. There's a Planning Board Steering Committee on June 14th at 11 a.m. There will be a Planning Board site visit for Drummer Road on June 22nd at 8 a.m. It says it has to be confirmed, but I'm going to request, and staff agrees, that there be a site visit for there. I know sometimes at 8 o'clock in the morning it's difficult for people, me included, but I'm going to urge you to take a look at this site on your own so you'll get a good idea when it comes to the board at the next planning board meeting on June 27th at 6:30. I will adjourn this meeting at 6:46.